Heal with Gold. Hello, people. As you come in, say hello. Tell me that you're here because I don't always see. You can share with me where you're tuning in from, how excited you are to learn from Lillian. This is such a delicate topic, and I am so curious. I want to learn about it. We're doing a whole life, health. It's going to be a bunch of weeks that we're going to have like a whole body health. It's going to be, we're talking now about cancer. We're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to talk about exercise. And we're going to talk about everything that we need to talk to have a fantastic 2021. I see that there is a bunch of people here, but nobody's saying hello. So I want to know who you are. Guys, say hello. We have, oh, here, aloha salud. Thank you. Otherwise, I see the people, but I don't know who's here. Guys, come on, say hello. Hi. Oh, you are a survivor of anal cancer too. So I'm so happy that you're here. I hope that you will contribute to the story, to what we can learn. Hello, Paul. So nice to see you. This is, when I spoke to Lillian, I was so amazed by her openness and by her desire to share such a touchy, delicate subject. And I always say the people that come to this show, hi Marina, are real heroes because they are here to help other people and save them from the situation that they went through. So without further ado, I am bringing Lillian to join us.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you, Mary, for having me.
My pleasure. Look, we have a bunch of people here and they're saying hello. Hi, Penny, Paul, salute. This person didn't approve StreamYard, so I don't know who it is, but it may be one of your friends. I don't know.
Okay.
Salute is here. Paul is saying hello. Okay. I want to start because we really have a very important and delicate subject. Hi, Jerry. And I want to leave some time at the end for people to feel free to ask questions because this is a very safe space. I'm really working super hard to build the community that people feel not judged and free to ask questions. And I'm trying to bring the speakers from all different areas so they can communicate with them directly. And that's why it's so important for me to do the show live. So to give them an opportunity to communicate with you and also stay in touch with you after.
Yeah.
So Lillian, share a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, and then tell us from the beginning, about the diagnosis. And I will be putting, people are coming in, and I'm putting here their messages, but I don't want to distract you. Please tell us, talk to us, and share about yourself.
Okay. Well, hi everybody. My name is Lillian, and I was diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago. And I will tell you all about it and how I was blindsided and how most people who get this type of cancer are blindsided. And I'll give you the whole scoop. And I will say that I'm cancer free for 3 years now. Thank you. I have 2 more years to go, which means you're really out of the woods. So I'm happy about that. So basically, I live in New York City. And what I've always been involved in health and wellness. And now I run a foundation called the HPV Alliance. And the reason I run this foundation is because when I was sick, I came across so many people like me who either were non-diagnosed, misdiagnosed, ended up with stage 4, which they didn't have to be stage 4. And there was a pivotal point, which I'll tell you. And then I decided I have to do something about this. So what happened was, when I was in my 20s, I had a pap test, went to the gynecologist, and they told me that I had an abnormal pap. Um, and actually, they did tell me that I had HPV, because sometimes they don't tell you that you have HPV. They might say it's just abnormal. And by the way, if anybody has ever had an abnormal pap, you have HPV. HPV is a virus that lies dormant. For some people, if your immune system is down, it can cause cancer. It causes 7 cancers, and I'll get to everything. So I was diagnosed with HPV, and then I had to come back, a couple of months later, and then they do a further look. It's called a colposcopy, and they take like a further look, a biopsy, and I was okay. So as far as I knew, I was good to go. I'm fine. Everything's fine. So then, 3 years ago in the summer, when I was 53,
Excuse me, just 1 second. You were 56?
I'm 56 now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was sure you're in your 30s.
No.
I'm telling you, I'm just floored. Okay.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Genes. I'm serious. You look like you're in your 30s. Okay. Sorry, I had to interrupt here because I'm shocked.
Thank you. Thank you. So 3 summers ago, I remember I was at my friend's pool, and I felt like I had like a hemorrhoid. And I know what a hemorrhoid is. I had them before. We all have hemorrhoids inside and outside. And but this one was like itching and wouldn't go away. And then there was blood. So there was like a little bit of blood every day in the toilet after I went to the bathroom. And so I was like, this is weird. And then one day I was in my Pilates class, and I had my legs straight out in front, and I felt like I was sitting on something. And I said, oh, you know what? I have to go to the gynecologist because something's weird. And so I went to the gynecologist, the one that I've been going to for all these years. And I said, I feel like something's wrong. And, anyway, she, by the way, if you have a gynecologist that does not do a rectal exam, get rid of them. They're not doing their job, because the gynecologist is supposed to also do a rectal exam with their finger. Anyway, she did do the rectal exam, and I jumped, and she said, oh, anus and the vagina are so close together, and I said, no. I said, something's wrong. And then she had done a pap test, vaginal pap test, and she said, everything's fine. And I said, look, it's not fine. So I left her, and I went to my gastroenterologist. And the reason why I had a gastro doctor is because my grandmother passed away from colon cancer. So since age 40, I was getting colonoscopies. I had a colonoscopy the summer before. Everything was fine. Anyway, I see my doctor, and he looked concerned, and he said, we're going to do a really embarrassing test right now, probably the most embarrassing test you will ever have. And I said, okay. And it was called an anoscopy, which is a tube with like a camera, or a camera on the end of it, and some light. And he puts it in the anus. And when he was done, he didn't look at me. And he said, tomorrow we have to go for a sigmoidoscopy. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, it's like a colonoscopy, but it looks at the anal canal. And I said, okay. So the next day I had the sigmoidoscopy, and then there was no prep for it, but I was under. And then he said to me, it's not the best news. You have a cancerous tumor. And I said, what, how, me? How did I get that? I said, I do everything right. What am I doing with a cancerous tumor? I said, are you sure? And he said, I'm sure. I go, how are you sure? And he said, because I see it and I know it's cancerous. I'm like, wow. And then he said, it's treatable. And I said, okay. And that's all I heard. And I didn't get crazy. I didn't get upset. I was just kind of like, whoa, how did I get that? And then I just kept going. And after that, I had to go for a lot of tests, like a CAT scan, a PET scan. PET scan shows, if the cancer's anywhere else. And then they have to stage you. What stage are you at? Did it spread? So on and so forth. So I remember I was at Sloan Kettering in New York City, which is one of the greatest hospitals. And by the way, if you do have cancer, especially a rare cancer, but this cancer is on the rise, you do want to be at one of the top hospitals. And I take it for granted that I could walk to the hospital. When I talk to other people who had the same cancer as me, and they're going through hell right now, I'm almost embarrassed to say, well, I don't know, I had a good experience, because they're somewhere in, I don't know where, out in the mid somewhere, whatever, and it's just not the same. So anyway, the first day that I went for a blood test, the nurse couldn't find my vein. I started to get lightheaded. And that I did get upset that day, because I looked around and everybody, there has cancer. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And if I walk outside, I'm normal. On the street, I'm normal. I was normal yesterday, but now I have cancer. And what am I doing here? So then I did get upset that day. So I met with my oncologist, and he told me that it wasn't going to be a walk in the park. It's going to get painful at the end, that it's like if you put your hand out in really cold weather, it becomes numb and it gets worse. It's cumulative. I had always a yellow legal pad, and I had so many questions, and I'm single and I have a lot of friends, and every single day I had friends with me. And so much so that the hospital coined my friends the housewives of Sloan Kettering. So and the doctor comes in, and I'm like, this is my doctor. He looks like he's 12. And this doctor could not be nicer, kinder, wonderful. He was absolutely wonderful and smart, and he was terrific. And the first day that I was going for the staging, they had to make a mold for me that I would be lying in when I get the radiation treatments, because I had to be in a certain spot each time. And when I was getting fitted, he came down to see me, and he's like, you're going to be okay? And I really, that meant a lot. Anyway, he told me that I'm going to have 28 radiation treatments and 28 oral chemo. So I was taking chemo pills. And you can't eat greens and stuff because it makes you go to the bathroom. There was a certain diet I had to be on. Also, I lost my appetite from being on chemo and radiation. And I also never got nauseous once. Every Friday, they did my bloods to see if I was okay. I was strong. I was good. Anyway, so what I did was, literally that day that the doctor told me I had cancer, I looked at my watch and said, okay, it's treatable. Let's go. Let's go. And after I knew what I was going to be dealing with, the 28 visits and everything, I put on a piece of paper all the dates, and I said, I'm going to cross each date off. Every time I go to the hospital, I'm going to cross it off, because it's one less date and one less date, so that I could see there's a reality that I'm going to be fine. So I also made a spreadsheet, and I invited all my friends to come with me, not because I needed them, because I could get to the hospital back and forth myself, but because I wanted to normalize the situation, and I was thinking, what the hell am I doing here with these cancer patients? And so when my friends came, it normalized it. And then after we would have lunch, and I took my friends into the radiation room to show them the machine, how it goes up and around and up and around. And anyway, so I started to get the radiation treatments, and there's like music that they play while you're in there. And once they put "I Will Survive," and I'm like, turn this off. Put something else on. And I mean, they really would crack up with me. They would really crack up the way I was, because I was crazy and funny and silly. And even I had a party 6 months later, which I'll tell you about. And the doctor said on the microphone, we did not understand how she was so happy. It's like she didn't even know she had cancer. And that was part of the healing, because I had a really good attitude.
No doubt. No doubt.
And feel free to interject. Yeah. So then I started to have the treatments, and the first 3 weeks I was okay. Always I had to use creams. So just to be clear, if I didn't say it before, I was diagnosed with stage 2 anal cancer, which is from HPV, human papilloma virus. HPV can cause 7 cancers. The cancer that I had, Farrah Fawcett died of. She died the same day that Michael Jackson died. And nobody paid attention to her because Michael Jackson died that day. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so HPV causes cervical cancer, anal, head, neck, and throat. A lot of men get that, like Michael Douglas, Val Kilmer, Dustin Hoffman, Jamie Dimon from Chase. It causes vaginal, vulvar, penile, and now it's indicated for prostate. What happens is when you go to your gynecologist, the gynecologist is only checking you for cervical cancer. I went back to my gynecologist and I said, I want to let you know what happened. I'm not blaming you, but I just want to let you know. And I said, you told me I was fine and I have anal cancer. And I'm just curious. You did give me a rectal exam. Just curious. Why did you do that? What were you looking for? And she said, well, I give you a rectal exam to check your ovaries from behind. But anal cancer, I don't have anything, it's not my area. Wow. This is the answer I got, which is nothing compared to what other people got. So now, actually, the rectum and the anus are in two different areas. The anus is lower, and she should have caught that. And I said to my gastro doctor, how did you catch it? Because remember, I said he didn't look at me when he was done doing the first exam with the anesthesia.
He already knew it.
He knew. And I said, you knew, didn't you? How did you know? And he said, because you had a hardening that wasn't supposed to be there. She should have caught it. Anyway, most people are not like me, where they're going to go question it. Most people want to believe the doctor and say, oh, I got a clean bill of health, but something was wrong. So anyway, so I started going through my treatments, and for the first 3 weeks I was okay. And then the last 3 weeks it started to get bad because I was being burned. And can you imagine going to the bathroom? You don't want to go to the bathroom, so you don't want to eat, and it kills. And so I had to be on a fentanyl patch. I had to wear a fentanyl patch on my butt, and I had to take oxycodone every day for pain for a month. And I said, oh, I don't want to get addicted to that. And the doctor said, no, you won't, because you're addictive naive, which means you don't have an addictive personality. You're not going to get addicted. So one day I was sitting in the waiting room, and there was a lady there, and she was crying. And I said, and she was waiting for radiation because she had her robe on, and I had my robe on. And I said, you know, what's up? What's going on? And she said, oh, everybody here has breast cancer. I could see, you know, that with the way they have their pants on, and I'm the only one with anal cancer. And I said, no, I have it. I have anal cancer. And I looked at her and I go, come on. I'm like, don't be upset. I said, this is the best of the worst cancers. We're going to be fine. This is an easy one. And she looked at me and she said, no, I'm stage 4 and it's spread. It's spread all over to my lymph nodes everywhere. Like Farah. Farah had tumors all over her liver. This is a cancer that nobody should die from. Nobody could. It's an easy one to get to deal with if you know what's going on. So I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she said, oh yeah, you know, I had symptoms. My doctor said I was okay. So I heard this comment.
And hold on a second. It's also an embarrassing cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people don't want to take this too seriously, because that means that they need to expose themselves in a way that they feel uncomfortable. So when you hear from a doctor that it's okay, you don't want to go and get more answers because it's uncomfortable, the whole process.
Well, you're right, but I'd rather get the answers than die. And I know people that would rather die than get the answers. Okay. And so that's why we have to destigmatize it. And I'll talk about that a little later on what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But I kept hearing these stories. And even when I was done with treatment, you know, my oncologist texts me all the time and says, I have a new patient. They're really nervous. You know, can you talk to them? And I said, you don't have to ask me. Always give them my number. And I mean, just the other day, I was talking to a 53-year-old lady, which is young. For some reason, women get anal cancer and men get head, neck, and throat. But men can get anal cancer too. But what I hear from these women at 59 or 60 something, oh, I didn't even know I had HPV, or, oh, I haven't had sex in 10 years. And this is what I want to tell you. You could have gotten HPV when you were 12. You could have got it from open mouth kissing. The vaccine came out in 2006, Gardasil. I didn't get the vaccine. I was too, you know, it wasn't around. Well, what I want to say is they're finding HPV in the nose now. It's being indicated for prostate cancer. It doesn't matter if you haven't had sex in 30 years. You could have gotten it a long time ago, and it lies dormant. And when your immune system is down, it can sneak in and cause cancer. So, and I was like, how is my immune system down? I work out. Well, I was under a lot of stress. And, you know, sometimes stress can change your cells in your body. Anyway, so as I was going through treatment and I kept hearing these stories, one lady said to me, yeah, I'm stage 2. And I went to a gynecologist who had a poster in her office of all women's cancers, nothing about HPV. She non-diagnosed me. And when I went back to her and told her, hey, you missed it, I have anal cancer, this is what she said to her. This is a New York City gynecologist, said, I can't help it if you had anal sex. You know, it's not my area. Number one, so wrong on every level. Number two, you don't get it from anal sex.
Oh my God.
So people they just don't know. They don't know. And it's crazy. And so anyway, while I was going through it, I ended up finding this organization called the Anal Cancer Foundation. How did I didn't even know such a thing existed. Turns out there are 3 siblings who live in Brooklyn who lost their mother. The mother was 52. The mother also did everything right. She was very vibrant, and the mother died of anal cancer. And there was nothing on the web about anal cancer. There was nothing. And after the mother died, they were borrowing medications from other cancers to try to save her. And after she died, they vowed to make a foundation, and so that nobody ever has to go through this not non-information stigma again. What happened with the mother was the mother was knew she had HPV, and she thought, I'm gonna get it burned off. I'm gonna get the cells burned off. And when she did, she thought she was good to go. Good to go. 25 years later, she found out she was full of cancer. Because what happened between the time that she had the bad cells, quote unquote, burned off and then ended up with cancer? Because it doesn't go away. It lays dormant. Anyway, she died, and she didn't have to die. And I'll tell you this, everybody, when you get a colonoscopy, the colonoscopy bypasses the first 6 inches of the anal canal. It's not going to show you that you have anal cancer unless maybe it's stage 3 or 4 and it's big enough to see. So it's not going to show you that. I have a detective, a New York City detective, who's not gay. He's a straight guy, never been sick. And he is so pissed off. He's stage 3. And he wants to find out how he got it. He wants to know. And I said, you're going to have to give that up. You are never going to know how you got this. And he's very angry that he's stage 3. And he felt something was wrong. And he was misdiagnosed. So anyway, I went through my treatment. And I said to myself, I'm going to have this big party when I'm done. And I'm going to thank all the doctors and the nurses, and just going to have this big party. So in April, I was finished at the end of December. In the middle of April, it was a beautiful day. I had this really fun party. I had a piñata, which I have here, in the shape of a butt. It has a thong on it. I had toilet paper centerpieces. I gave out goodie bags with Preparation H. It was like the doctors were the last to leave. They were not leaving this party. Okay. The dirtier we got, the longer they stayed. And I also had one of the siblings who lost her mom come and speak about HPV and the dangers. So it was great. And then after that, I started, I was volunteering for,
we have a question here. She wants to know how long. Yeah.
Yep. I was volunteering for the organization, Anal Cancer Foundation. And then I started doing my own little events to educate. And then I'll get to the next point. My treatments were 28 days. It's called the NIGRO protocol. So it's 28 radiations, and 28 oral cancer. And I think it's called a chemo push beforehand, which is into the arm, and then a chemo push after. So they wanted to also make sure that they were getting the borders, my groin area and everything, just in case it may spread. And also, by the way, I'll tell you something else. While I was going for my treatment, for lack of a better word, they gave me a dildo to put inside to keep my lady parts intact so that they wouldn't be ruined by radiation. I have a survivor from Canada from 10 years ago who didn't have that. And she's a mess. She's a mess. Like, she can't have sex or anything. Anyway, so then I noticed that Marsha Cross, the actress, she posted that she had anal cancer. And I said, oh, I have to get in touch with her because I got to get in touch with this lady. And I got in touch with her. A friend of mine grew up in her town and knew her sister on Facebook. And I wrote an email to the sister. My friend sent it. And then Marsha called me. So fast forward 2 years later, Marsha and I have become really good friends, and she is awesome and so lovely. And, in the beginning, she wasn't sure because it's not her platform. Nobody wants to be in the anus club. And, but then she decided she was embracing her anus. And we started going around the country talking at medical conferences. And I'm telling you, doctors came up to us after and said, we're going to admit that we're embarrassed to talk about this. We're embarrassed. And then within the last 6 months, I created a foundation called HPV Alliance. And Marsha's on my board. I have a whole bunch of doctors from Sloan and Mount Sinai in New York, and we're blowing this up. And I actually have another celebrity from Florida who was a nurse. I didn't know who she was. She's a reality star. Her name is Jamie Otis. She was on The Bachelor. And at 8.5 months pregnant, she put a social media post out saying that she was diagnosed with HPV as she's pregnant. And so I was like, I have to get in touch with her. And it turns out that I have a PR firm that works for me pro bono, and the PR firm reached out to her, and she's going to be doing a podcast. It's coming up any day with Jamie, and yeah, she and I are like, I mean, she invited me. One of the highlights was she invited me last year. I stayed at her house. She was being honored at the Farrah Fawcett Foundation event. And she bought a table, and I came with her and all her friends. They were her anus angels. And she was given a statue. Farrah used to, in addition to being on Charlie's Angels, which she was only on there one season, she was a sculptor. And so Marsha got this sculpture, and I was like, I had the best time. I was talking to, Billy Baldwin, and I was talking to Eva Longoria, and I was talking to everybody, and they're talking to me. I think they thought I was somebody. Eva Longoria is like, I like your dress. I'm like, oh, thank you. So anyway, so Marsha and I, we're doing a lot of stuff. We're going to be doing a lot more. I think we're going to be writing a book, because both of us get a lot of inquiries on, how can I talk about this? I'm embarrassed. And, can you give me any tips on what you did? Simply like one of Marsha's tips is, when you go to the bathroom and you pee in a cup, so it doesn't burn you in the back if it drips to the back. And one of my tips is getting an aloe plant, putting it in the freezer, and then cutting pieces and literally putting it in your crack because it's burned. So we're going to be doing a book, and we're going to be doing a very big event on March 4th on Facebook Live for HPV Awareness Day. There's going to be 5,000 people plus. We're just getting it, figuring it all out now, but it's going to be virtual. And, we have to get this information out there, because, people, you couldn't talk about breast cancer at one point. You couldn't talk about colon cancer. Well, we need to talk about this because it's happening. And I don't know why it affects women in their 50s and 60s. And it does affect men too, but less. But men, the head, neck, and throat is on the rise. And, Michael Douglas, he walked it back because he was getting a lot of flack for it. And Marsha was getting flack too, because stupid people write stupid things. Marsha's husband had HPV throat cancer. So they were saying, yes. So they were saying stupid things. And she was almost like, I don't know, why should I do this? Why should I try to help people? And I said, just stick it out. And she did. And because she does like to help people. And we're out there, and we're doing it. And we're going to be partnering with some other organizations to do this event. And yeah, so now, and as far as side effects, I am really good, but unfortunately, one of the side effects is you could have vaginal and anal stenosis, a narrowing. So I have to like use this dildo 3 times a week to, keep myself from narrowing. And Marsha and I talk about that, and how we both went for what is it called? Uh, it's not what's it called? Oh, it's pelvic floor therapy. We went for that. And you want to know what it is? It's the therapist in the beginning is feeling inside at where you're really tight and taut, and taking like a wand to help release the tightness. And you're tight because you got radiation, and the tissues are not the same. So there's a lot of stuff, and that's one of Marsha's things. Like, why, these people, after you go through this, then you should have follow through. And I know Sloan Kettering did the follow through. I don't know about a lot of other hospitals if they're following up. Like, you have to get the pelvic floor. But this is big. It's on the rise, and I really don't care what people think. So I'm the perfect one to do it.
Lillian, I think that first of all, you're incredible because you speak not only so open, but I'm looking at you. I'm having this conversation with you. People, all the other people who are here, they're hiding, right? Like nobody sees them. But you are making me feel so comfortable.
Thank
and
you.
that is so important because an open conversation like that, I mean, the work that you're doing, I have no doubt you're saving lives. You may not find out about it. The people may not get back to you, but I can tell you 100% without any doubts in my mind that your work is saving lives. And, sometimes we go through adversity. We don't understand why us, right? Like, why were we dealt that hand? And I really wish that you didn't have to go through what you went through. But at the same time, if anybody read this voice, I mean, I think that God gave this voice to somebody so special that could do it. You really could do it because you have a sense of humor. You have such a light, such an aura about you that makes people feel comfortable to listening to you. And this whole thing with when you were saying the colonoscopy and an endoscopy, my husband just had both a couple of months ago, and it's very like you were saying that, and I was like, oh, I'm happy that they did the endoscopy too, not just a colonoscopy. And then I'm thinking, was it enough? Did they pay attention? Did they look for it? He had it for other reasons, but I'm very curious now to know, are the doctors really looking for everything when you go? Because this is what's ridiculous. My husband had a stroke, and so we found out that he has diabetes and hypertension. But you're dealing with a lot of different doctors, and instead of them treating the human being, each doctor treats their own organ.
Yeah.
So the diabetes doctor is checking his blood sugar, and his neurologist is checking, and no one is looking at the big picture. And I always worry about it. Exactly what you said, that people go to doctors and they're checking their area. It's almost like the body is not all connected.
Well, with this particular area, nobody owns that area. So the GYNs are supposed to be doing a rectal exam. If you ask your female friends if their GYN is giving them a rectal exam, a lot of them are going to say, oh, no, they don't. And you know what? They need to get rid of that doctor because their rectal exam is so important. Why can't you get cancer in your butt? You can get cancer everywhere else. Why can't you get it in your butt? And the other thing is that nobody owns it. So is it going to be the GYN that is going to look at it, or is it going to be the gastro doctor? We want to bring protocols forward that, you know, that this becomes a protocol. My GYN oncologist told me that she had a woman who came to her who had gone to so many doctors because she was bleeding, and every doctor said, oh, it's hemorrhoids, but they didn't actually check to see if it was hemorrhoid. By the time she got to my GYN, she was stage 4. No GYN had ever done a rectal exam. Mine did a rectal and found a lump, a tumor, and she died. She was stage 4 because no doctor did that. And also, even though they do that, like mine did do it, they're not necessarily knowing what they're doing. So if you feel something and you know it's not right, like blood or the hemorrhoid that doesn't go away, because that's how it presents, you got to do something about it. And I'll say another thing. Marsha Cross had no symptoms. She had no symptoms. She didn't even...
That was going to be my next question. Do you always have the bleeding and the hemorrhoids symptoms? No. And you're saying right now you're answering my question. No.
Good question. So Marsha had no symptoms. She didn't even know she had HPV. She goes to the doctor, and her GYN caught it and said, I don't like what I'm feeling right now. You need to go to the colorectal doctor. And she said, I have to pick up my kids from basketball right now. And the doctor's like, oh, no, you're going to the doctor. And the doctor said to her, whatever it is, it's curable. And she was just like, she was a wreck. My attitude, you know, I spoke to somebody the other day who was 53. She's only stage 1. And the doctors told her it's curable, it's treatable. But she's still like, I don't know, I'm nervous. And I said, why don't you just go with what the doctor said? The doctor said it's treatable. And that's what I went with. I didn't think anything other than it's treatable. So you need to go with that, especially your stage 1. You know, my attitude was like, I'm not going to get upset until I have to, and I might not have to.
That's an incredible. Are you like that in every area of your life, or did you just gain like this amazing strength during this period of your life?
You know, I'm strong and stuff. I've had a lot of chaos and turmoil, family stuff, siblings, not with my parents. And I have to tell you that I really, really think that I really think that the cancer was brought on by the aggravation that I went through with my siblings. Mm-hmm. And I do. And so I've always been, you know, strong, outspoken, but I just, you know, I just get to the task at hand. Like, okay, we're going to be okay. Listen, maybe I would be different if they said it's not treatable. Maybe I would be a totally different person or react different, but I got a how do you call it? A green card, like a good
prognosis. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, but yeah, so, and I met a lady at the Farrah Fawcett event who was in her 60s, and she came over to me and she's like, oh, can you tell me, I need help how to say it, because I tell everybody it was colon cancer. And I'm like, you know what, you should say what it is, because if Farrah had come out with it sooner, saying what it is instead of at the end of the book or whatever, it would have been better. I met Farrah's best friend, Alana Stewart. She was there, and very nice. And you know, it's just I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough.
Very tough. Very tough. But you know what? It takes courage. I do understand. I think that we are raised, in general, we are raised to hide weakness.
Yeah.
In general, right? In life in general. And there's so many stigmas that we need to break, you know, suicidal thoughts and anxiety and depression. And there's so many things that, you know, people struggle and they don't come out and they don't say, they don't speak about it because they're so afraid of other people's reactions.
Right.
And this cancer is just another one. Not too long ago, people weren't talking about breast cancer. You mentioned that. It takes time for people to loosen up, start hearing people that looks normal, regular people, beautiful people, smart people that experience. And the more this is spoken about, that's why I thought it was so important when we spoke months ago, right? Because we booked the event when I had the event with Deborah.
Yes.
And she sat to me and I said, yes, we need to talk about these subjects. And we need to, and I said, we need to create a place where people can feel comfortable. And the group that I have, this interview is streamed to 3 places. There are men and women listening to this. But my group is for women only. And the reason I wanted to keep it this way, I could have had a bigger group. I've denied entry to many people in the group. But it's because I want the women to feel comfortable, to have a place where they can feel less shy to ask those questions.
Yeah, yes.
So other people can answer. So we'll definitely put all of your links and the alliance and the event. So anybody who wants to support it, we'll put that. And then if anybody has questions for you and they're embarrassed to ask here, they can definitely reach out to you there. But I want to open up to people in the group, the people that are here with us. If anybody has a question, to please post the question now and Lillian will answer. But regardless of that, I'm just so happy that you're doing well,
Thank you.
that you're doing the work that you're doing. And I want to support you in any way that I can support you.
Oh, when we finalize the details of the March 4th event, I'll let you know, and you guys can watch it, and I'll let you know, because it's going to be an education event. But I do want to say that when you said about saving lives, there's a woman who she had the same diagnosis, and she didn't go to Sloan at first. She went to another hospital, and they told her she was going to have surgery. And you don't do surgery with this kind of cancer because the tumor is too close to the sphincter muscle. You always do this protocol, which is the radiation and the chemo. So she said, and she was Israeli, and she said, I'm going to die because I'm not doing this. I'm going to die. She was such a mess. She started Googling, and she found me because there's a video of me on the Sloan Cancer website, because they said, you're so positive, let's do a video. And they put my video up there, and she started Googling, and she found my video. She's like, oh my God, I don't have to get surgery. She ended up going to Sloan and to my doctor.
Look at that. So you see, you already know that you have saved lives.
Yeah.
Just her attitude of she's going to die, just saying that, I always say, and I had a whole big conversation with Paul. He was here earlier. I don't know if he's still here, but I told him that the power of words are so big, like we don't comprehend. But I was talking to him and I was telling him the world was created with words. If you go back into the Bible, for those who read the Bible, but God created the word by saying there's going to be light, there's light, there's the word that we use, how we speak has a huge impact. That doctor told you with words, it's curable.
Yeah.
You pass that information with positivity, with words that are positive. Those words have power and they have strength. When people use words that are negative, it brings that negativity, negativity.
Yes.
So I'm so happy that you mentioned that. If your doctor gave you that kind of prognosis, just live with it, accept it as true, and go forward. Don't be embarrassed. Take the steps, and you're going to heal.
Yeah.
And it's so true, because what we speak and what we believe, takes such power. Here is salute. Yes, positive mental attitude is very powerful. 100%.
Yeah.
And when we speak it, and that's why it's, we talk about affirmations, saying things out loud. Why saying things out loud? Because words have tremendous power.
Right. No, you're right. Miri, I wanted to ask you before we go, how's your husband?
So my husband, there's a lot of people in the community here who are stroke survivors, and relatively to what they went through, he's doing well. My husband, the part of the brain that affected him, it was memory loss. And unfortunately, I don't see an improvement. That doesn't mean that there won't be improvement.
Sure.
It means that it's a process, right? So sometimes he loses short-term memory. So I can tell him something 10 minutes later, it's like I never said it.
Okay.
And certain things are, long-term memory. And we don't know what it is and when. Some things he does remember, and then some things he doesn't remember. The biggest things that we found out through his process of stroke was that we found out he was diabetic, extreme diabetic.
Wow.
And his sugar was over 300 when 100 is normal. And when we were in the hospital, his A1C was 9.6, 5 point something. You were already borderline diabetic. So imagine 9.6. He was a diabetic for a very long time. We didn't know. And he had hypertension. His heart rate was through the roof. And we did a little implant in his heart. And we have something that checks his heart rate, to monitor his heart with the doctor. So he doesn't need to be there. His heart is monitored 24/7. That's technology. And he's changing a lot about his health, his diet. I am actually bringing somebody to the group in a few weeks that's going to talk about plant-based, because there's a school of thought that plant-based can revert diabetes. And
I have a friend who runs a whole plant-based in New York. She runs a whole plant-based group in New York.
What's her name?
Enrica Sacca, Saaca, Enrica.
Oh, I wonder. I'm interviewing Liana. I don't know if they're working on the same group, but she definitely has a group. And he changed completely. And actually, the problem with the type of diabetes type 2 that he has, the issue is not sugar. The issue is fat.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So there is so much to learn, but I mean, those conversations, those types of conversations is really what's going to help educate people and maybe save people's lives. When we came back from the hospital, and I'm in general a private person, I'm introverted. I'm not, before I started this group, I wasn't somebody who would come online and just share about my life. It's just not me. But when I came from the hospital and my husband was settled, I immediately did a live, and the live was, go do a checkup once a year, like a complete checkup, because my husband was raised in a home that the attitude was, don't look for problem. If you're not feeling anything bad, don't look for it, because you're looking for trouble. That was the mentality. And because of that, my husband is thin, unlike me, but he's thin. He always ate healthy. I'm the one who always ate junk and crap, and he always ate clean. So he never felt like he needed to go to the doctor. And at the end of the day, he was so much sicker than me, like
it's sleep. Sleep is so important. It's everything. Men are famous for not going to the doctor. So we know that.
Yes. And so after, he was okay. A couple of weeks later, I scheduled a breast exam that I hadn't done in 8 years. And I said, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to bring people to talk about it, because I wish I heard something like that. I wish that somebody told me, don't wait. You don't know what's lying dormant. You don't know what can be, and so I am just so grateful to you. I'm grateful for your time, for your wisdom, for opening up and sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you to all your guests too.
Sure. I'm just so honored to have you in our group.
I'm honored that you asked me.
And then we'll stay in touch. Send me all the links. I'm sure some people will want to come to, to participate in the event that you're going to do. So send us information and we'll post it.
Yeah, my website is hpvalliance.org.
Okay, so here's somebody has a very similar story to you.
Tell her to write to me on here's my email.
Yes.
Lillian at
So,
hpvalliance.org.
so Facebook user, because you didn't approve StreamYard, I don't know who you are, but you feel free, if you're not in my group, you can DM me so I can connect you with Lillian. I can give you her email address. Marina, pleasure as always. Salute. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, very, very inspirational.
Thank you. Yeah, plant-based is great.
Yes. So we're going to have us, she's going to come and she's going to speak about it. And by the way, when we were speaking about plant-based, we're not talking about, oh, because we need to save the animals. Right now, I'm focusing on saving lives of humans.
Oh, yeah.
We can only talk about animals eventually, but the plant, it's more about our health. That's what's focused. Because I don't want people to think about, oh, I'm vegan, I'm wearing leather. That it's not that. We're talking about nurturing our body.
Oh, it's very good for you. It's
okay,
really good for you.
So this is Sharon. So Sharon, you can send me a DM and I will send you Liliana's information. Thank you, Pam, so much. Thank you, everybody who joined us.
Thank
you. And have a good night. Until next week, everybody.
Thank you.